Welcome back, guys. I'm back because I've been doing stuff. Not important. In this video, I am going to be changing out the steering wheel, one of the very few things that I still have left to complete my Forester project. So, let's take a look at the steering wheel. This is the steering wheel that I am going to put in to my Forester. This one has all the built-in functions here, so all of your radio commands. And then over here, it has all digital cruise control. So instead of having the little knob over here, I get to have these built into the steering wheel along with my audio controls. So I don't have to go over and hit the touch screen constantly with that new radio I installed. I can have these all right here on the steering wheel. So easy. So I have to take this apart. I just got this on eBay. I have to take this apart. I have to take all the wiring out from the back side of this and splice it up to my old one to make it somehow work magically. This is a journey. I really hope this works. And of course, the first thing we're gonna do is pop under the hood over here and make sure the battery is disconnected. Safety. All right, so here is the OG steering wheel. I was looking to replace this just because of this stuff right here. The sun has gotten to it. It's starting to fade a little bit in certain places. But with a combination of it just getting old and with this new one where I got this off eBay and it is this beautiful condition. Plus it has the built-in buttons for this guy and to replace this little dude over here. I think it's going to be a nice little upgrade. So first thing we need to do to take the steering wheel out is over on the left and right side. You're going to have little holes right there. And you can see those are going to be Torx. So they're going to be T30 bits. Both the left and right side will have those. See, there's another hole right there. So you're going to loosen those up. Those two Torx are going to come out. So this entire unit right here is able to come out and we can get to the wires on the inside. All right, so once both of those screws are backed out, they're not gonna fall out. You're just gonna back them out as far as you can on both sides. And once you get them backed out as far as you can definitely tell that this is loose. All you have to do is give it a little bit of a tug if it's your first time taking it off, and then it opens right up. So now you can see we've got the two wire connections up there, which we are going to splice into and use for the new one. And then you've got your airbag, which is right here. So this is gonna be a little tricky to film and take out. So we're gonna put our flathead right down here and try to pry this yellow piece up. All right, now that we have that popped up, now the entire black piece can come up. So now that that airbag wire is disconnected from here, I'm just going to release this ground wire. So just pull back on that so I can take this whole front unit off, so the steering wheel is its own separate unit. And there we go. We've got the airbag right there. And then of course the front cover. So I'm gonna need that airbag for the new one because when you buy new ones, they don't come with airbags. They just come with the cover because the airbags are like the same price as the steering wheel. I don't know why. Maybe because America hates you. Anyway, now that we're in here, we can kind of take a look at what's going on. So this is the ground wire that goes up. It is, for some reason, it's chained into the cruise control system here, which comes up, it's screwed in, and you can see that blue wire routes all the way around there into this little clip, and around here, and then into this green plug. All right, now to make sure everything remains lined up, we're gonna get our steering wheel as straight as possible, or basically just put your steering wheel in a place where you know it's going to be exactly the same when you pop it back on. If you like, you can get Sharpies of some sort of color or an oil pen, something to where you mark in here. I've seen people put tape up here to make sure the steering wheel doesn't move around when you pop this nut off. So I'm going to make some marks over here and before I get this 17 millimeter off. Next up, this 17 millimeter here. The easiest way to get this off, impact. It's off. Basically what you want to do is get it loose, but don't take it all the way off because we have to unseat the steering wheel from the housing on the back because it becomes bonded. So let's get this thing loose real quick. All right, and as you can see, this nut is nice and loose. So it moves around, it's still on there. You've got a little bit of wiggle room in the back, but the thing is, the steering wheel is still moving. We don't want that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab onto it and we're gonna pull it towards ourselves so it unseats it from the back there. The proper way of doing this, you can see there are little threaded holes on both sides. There's a little puller. Basically, it grabs onto this and then anchors to here and it pops it out that way. I don't have one of those and I don't want to run down to the store and get it, and this is free and easy. So as long as you're strong enough to pop this thing out, do that. I can't do it with one arm because I'm weak. And once you're done shaking it and jostling it and doing your little thing, now it comes loose. See how it comes forward and then back. Now we can actually take the nut off of here. So again, I'm gonna make sure everything is nice and straight where it should be. And then I just need to unplug this. Unplug. I'm gonna unplug. Come on, you son. And then just easily unplug the green little wiring harness that goes in there. Now, when the whole thing comes out, the only thing that will be attached is your airbag. But we don't need that. We're not splicing anything into the airbag. We're just doing this for this guy right here for our radio controls and our cruise control right down here. So let's get the steering wheel off, just like that. Ta-da! Now we have no steering wheel. Can't drive now, can you? So now that we have this out, basically I just have to remove the internals in here. But my main thing is I need to figure out where all these wires go because there's no good wiring diagram online. I can't find anything that says what these wires do and where they go. So this is going to be a learning experience, and by the time I'm done with it, I'll know what the hell it does. Hopefully. If this is posted, yes, I did get it. All right, so I have got both of these on the inside so I can tinker around with them and make the steering wheel complete before I start doing the wiring portion. So here's the old one with the airbag and cover, and the new one with the cover and no airbag. Airbag, easily just switch right over. In here, I am going to take this little harness out for the cruise control so I can get the wires from this harness onto the back of this one. They didn't provide me with one. They cut it off because they hate me. So we're going to come over here. I've already taken all the screws off, as you can see, on this one. And now the only thing holding this plastic bit and the cruise control in place is these two little tabs right here. So if you move both of them, see how that moves right there? If you move both of those off there, this whole back bit will come off. All right, so here is the old steering wheel, just a shell. Nothing else you can do with that. Everything's been taken off. And here's the plastic bit that goes on the other side. The cruise control, I've already taken all this stuff out, so I should just be able to kind of pop this out, maybe jimmy it around and get it out. This connection is the most important bit. Now, I've already taken one out to prove that it can be done because it's the most annoying thing ever. So for these, if you do need to repin, I've seen other people do this on different models, and this is not needed because there's only this far right ground that's going into it. So this is going to have to be a whole different wire setup. So I'm going in this blind. This is going to take me a long time to finish this video. So you've got this part up here. All I did was pop it up. It was right here in this down position. I just got a flathead in there, popped it up. This is the locking mechanism that they have in place. So make sure you have that popped up. As you can see, all of them are in there. And here on the back, the bottom ones, that is where the actual pin is. And these top ones are where you disconnect. So on the top ones, you're going to have to put in a pin, some sort of small metal tool. You're going to shove it in there, and then it will expand these little fins on the outside, which is locking it in place. All right, so I just poked it through, and you might be able to see right in there, I've got the needle. You can see the needle in there already. So now that that is in there, it should be unlocked. There's going to be a lot of friction, but we get this black wire and we slowly start tugging on it and it should come out. All right, now that that's done, we need to swap the covers. As you can see, they're different sizes, different designs. I do like the black on this one though. So, like I said, empty, and this one has my old airbag. It is easy as pie. You just have to take out each one of these. The whole thing comes out, swap it over to the new one, toss it in there, and you're good to go. Don't actually toss it. That's an explosive and it's an airbag. You know what airbags do. Don't be stupid. I shouldn't have to tell you that. PSA. So once you get all 4 of those off, as you can see, all of them are off. I've got my new one up here. As easy as popping this one off and putting it over here on the new one. Subaru to Subaru. Easy enough. Get those, put those on there, tighten them up. Now you've got an extra one for stuff. All right, it is the next day, and like I said before, this is a whole lot of trial and error because there is nothing telling you what to do. So, for everyone, this is one of the most popular radios that there are. It's an Android head unit, Atoto. You can watch my video above how I installed it. And the things that I left, I had 2 things left here. I had the steering wheel control, and see how they're both positive? One is like a pound sign positive and the other one's a normal positive. It doesn't matter which one you pair it to, and all the instructions that you've read is wrong. So, for the new steering wheel, I'm just doing my testing right now to make sure everything works. If you want your audio controls to work, you do not need to buy an extra unit. This is based on resistance. And this has a built-in system, which those little boxes like the access, that's exactly what this already has built in. Do not buy stuff you don't need. What you do is over here on the back, the 2 wires, your blue and your white, those are your steering wheel controls. You have 2 of them. One of these, it doesn't matter which, since it's resistance, one of these wires is going to go to ground, and the other one is going to go to one of these. So I've got one of the wires right up there in my ground, and the other one I have right here on whichever one this is. It's basically just a loop. It doesn't matter which one you plug it into. So I've got these set up, and I'm going to show you guys how to do this. So we've got that set up. Now we're going to jump over here into our setup screen, and then we're going to go to System and Steering Wheel Audio Controls. Now we're over here in the audio controls, and as you can see, I've got 2 blue ones. Now what you want to do here is you're going to press that right arrow, and once you press that right arrow, you pair them all at the same time, not one at a time. So now it's got everything cleared out, nothing is blue. So I'm going to come over here. It says press 1 button on the steering wheel. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to press the up button. Now it says select 1 below to pair. So obviously I'm going to do volume up. So I'm going to hit that volume up button. All right, now it's asking press 1 button on the steering wheel. You're going to go through and you're going to do all the buttons on here at the same time. I thought it was before you hit OK and then all the buttons just do that one thing. So now I've got up, so I'm going to do volume down. There we go. Now it says select 1 on here to pair, so I'm going to do volume down, and etc. I'm going to go through and I'm going to map in all of these buttons, and that's it. Audio controls done. You just have to make sure all of this is, you know, nice and snugly away. And if you want to know how to get into this whole area, again, just watch my video on when I installed this head unit. I show you how to take all of this stuff apart to get in here. It's quite easy. A little bit of painstaking if it is your first time to make sure you don't break anything, but that is how the steering wheel's controls are set up. Very easy, and again, don't buy stuff you don't need. So now that I know the audio controls work directly from the steering wheel, now what I need to do is I need to hook it up to here so it works. I mean, we can't just have wires running from here to our head unit. It doesn't make any sense. We have to route them through here, and then here's your little wire harness that all this is connected to. These are gonna run back underneath your dash. So I just went under there and I figured out which pins that these run from. So if you want, you need your two wires, you need your ground wire, and you also need your steering wheel control wire. Those are the two we're gonna be using. So I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna show you which housing that you wanna get to. It's this white one that I have unplugged. You first need, of course, as you can see, you need to take this whole panel off. This is very easy to get off. You come under here, you've got one screw right down here. And then on the other side, you have another screw right over here, right next to your hood latch. You're gonna take those two screws out, and then this entire thing is just gonna fall forward. You have to do that in order to get access to this this harness right here. This is the harness that we're gonna be using. So you have 3 pins up here. I figured out that the 2 on the right, so you've got the 3 pins in there. So the middle one and the right one, or 2 and 3 if you wanna count them, are going to be gray and black wires on this harness. So if we look down here, here's our whole steering column. We're gonna come down. You're gonna see this little spring right here for your adjustment on your steering wheel. And you're gonna come back here, and it's going to be, you're gonna have a few of them back here, actually 2. This is the one that we're gonna use. You've got one here, I've already got disconnected, so that's the other end right there. And then you've got one over here on the far right-hand side. This one's got the covers over here. It's kind of a square, bulky one. We don't want that one. We want the one that's closer in, this one. And if you want to, you can take a look at these wires and make sure it's the right one. But what I'm talking about is I unplugged that, and then I looked in it like this. See, all of these pins have been set in here, whereas on the other side, this other one back here, might not be able to see it, but there are 3 blank pins right back here. See if I can focus on that, maybe not. But there are 3 blank pins, whereas this one is totally full. So for this one, the 2 pins you're gonna use is that bottom left and up one and over one. So I'll go ahead and put that on the screen. All right, and as you can see, there's a brown and the black. Those were the pins I was talking about. Those 2 I'm gonna use as my steering wheel, and that gray one is also unused. So all 3 of those are not used. Those are the 3 pins that on the other side, that guy back there that I unplugged it, those don't go to anything in the car. All right, so just a quick recap here. The blue and the white wires, these are our steering wheel controls. These steering wheel controls are going to be plugged in to number 2 and number 3 on this pin, which then I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna splice into the brown and black wires, which then will come over here. The black wire, I'm gonna splice into that and put it to ground. The brown wire from down there, I'm gonna splice into that and lead it directly into my steering wheel controls. So when I have this connected into here, which would be really awesome if I can get a little connector here, because my car didn't come with it. So either I have to make it all jank or find a junkyard clip that comes in cruise control thing. Anyway, that's how it works. So now what I'm trying to figure out is these 2 wires. These 3 are for my cruise control. I'm setting that up now. These 2 wires, I'm guessing, are for my power. I've tested them using this as ground, and this is 12 volt, and I did get my lights to come on. I've got to figure out if that gray wire down there is in fact the first pin. If that works, then power is going to go to here, which then I can tap in there onto my accessory power. So it'll only turn on when the car is on, because you don't want that draining your battery. Don't put it to constant. So sadly, after extreme amount of research, I've been trying to find everywhere what these do and what these do. I've pulled it up. I figured out what each one of these wires go to. I tried for the longest time to find someone that has done this conversion. Everyone else seems to have different stuff than I do, but apparently the 2005 Forester XT has the same as the 05 STI. So I found someone that has done this before, and basically we've got to get into our buttons here and kind of hack them up a little bit for it to work, which does make sense. So if we look at the two of these are the two that I have. Strangely enough, in the manual, it says that the Forester, everything except for the 2.5 turbo, which mine is the turbo. However, this is the pinout that I have. You can see all the stuff that it has on here: cancel, set, coast, resume. And you can see on the right side, it goes based on either high or low ohm resistance. That's it. More than or less than. Super simple. However, on the one that I got this off of, the Legacy or the Impreza or the Forester, all of these newer ones kind of share the same thing, but you can see the plugs over here, and they're all over the place. 4 kilo ohms or 250 ohms or 1500 ohms. It's kind of all over the place. So it does make sense that we're going to have to kind of jump into the buttons, and we're going to have to get in here and kind of change the resistors so it is either showing high or showing low instead of just kind of in between, since there's basically 2 wires in here that are doing that instead of all the wires in here. So this is how it's done. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to get to the circuit board for our cruise control system, so inside here. And in order to do that, we have to take this plastic piece off, and just like the last one, it's got 2 little tabs right down here. We push those, push them back, but before we do that, you got to make sure the screws that you have left in here are out. I only have the 2 up here at the top, so I'm going to take these out, and then I'm going to push this plastic bit out. All right, I just took those 2 screws out and just got the little clips right down there. So now this will fall off. We don't need that yet, so we're going to put that off to the side. And now, steering wheel, we flip it over, and right here on the back side, you have a Phillips head screw that keeps this in place. So I'm going to take that off and swing this around, and I'm going to start working on it. I'm not going to take any of this off since they are joined for the black and the red. So I'm going to try to do this as much as I can without having to deal with all that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out, and let's get this thing apart. And this is what it's going to look like once you pull it out. You've got the buttons here, and you've got little clips on here. You have to make sure all these are out. So you got one down here, one over here on the side, and the 2 up here on the top. So make sure these are separated and these are pushed in before you pull it out, because you don't want to break anything because you just bought this. So the easiest way of getting this out is you can see these 2 over here. I started with this one right here, just popped in a flathead, popped it up, kind of looks like this. Then all you have to do is get this one popped in. Don't even worry about the 2 up here. Once you get that in, put a flathead right in this flat spot right up here in between the silver and the black, and just pry it up. Once you do that, and you pry it up, and probably do this with one hand, get this in here, and pry it up, then you just get the whole thing out. And it's just like that. Easy, nothing broken. So that is the circuit board that we want to get to. So we'll unattach that, make sure the rubber thing stays where it should be. And we're going to come in here and we're going to take some of these resistors off of here. All right, so we are going to take a total of 4 of these off. This is the only hard part for this entire tutorial, is this little bit right here. So we're going to take off 4 of these resistors, so the 1 up at the top and the 3 down here on the bottom. And once we take those out, you can desolder them or you can cut them off, whatever you want to do. It really doesn't matter. But once you get those off, then in the 2 spots down on the bottom, we're going to solder 2 wires. And then once we get those 2 wires, we're going to loop them up through here into the wiring loom so we have 2 more wires. All right, now that we have those taken off, we're going to solder on the 2 wires. Now where you're going to solder these are right here and right here. Those are the 2 solder joints that you need to connect the wire. And now I'll let you know what it looks like. So this is what it's going to look like after you're done. I've got a black wire and a black wire with red. That's just what I had laying around. Try to get around the same size as these, because when you close this together, it's going to be a tight fit with these extra wires in here. So as you can see, I've got very ugly, but it works. I've got the black one soldered on both points and the black with red soldered on both points. Make sure they are different colors so you know which one's which when you put them through the harness up here. And just like that, you've got both of those done. That's the hardest part out of the way. All right, next up, we've got 2 diodes. Now you can get these on Amazon. Sadly, that's the only place you can get them is online. There's really no brick and mortar stores anymore because Radio Shack is now gone. So I got 100 of these. So just in case I need them for the future for another project, I got 100 of these for like $4, which is still overpriced, but that's besides the point. So you're going to get these little diodes, and you can see on here they've got a gray stripe. This gray stripe is going to be facing away from the circuit board. So we've got our circuit board. We're not done yet. We're going to flip it around to the other side where that green wire is. Now you can do it close to the circuit board. You can do it kind of more up here. That's where I'm going to do it. I'm going to slide this up just so I don't want anything close to the circuit board when I close it. So I'm going to do it more up here along these lines. All this is just going to be hidden away in the steering wheel anyway, so you can't see it. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to get these 2 diodes and you're going to connect them together, and then you're going to connect them to the green wire, and then from the green wire they're going to go into your 2 other wires here. So it's a little hard to explain. I'll go ahead and put a graphic up and let's get into it. All right, so here I have the first one. So as you can see, the bands over here are pointed away from the circuit board. And then here I've twisted on the green wire copper to both of those. So all of these are conjoined right here. And then I just have it bent down next to the wire. So all of those are now one, the green wire and both of the ends of those diodes. Now, these, I'm going to go ahead and take that little piece of tape off. One end is now going to go on one of my new wires. So it's going to go onto here, and the other one is going to go onto here. So if you have black and white or green and blue or whatever the 2 colors you have, one end's going to go on one, the other end is going to go on the other. And then you're going to keep going like nothing ever happened. And now I am finished. So I've got both of these leading to my 2 new wires. So one on the black with red, and the other one, both of them connected to the green wire coming off the circuit board. So now this is all done. Go ahead and heat shrink or wrap or however you're going to do your wires. I just got some new stuff in the mail that is bonding silicone tape. This is like having heat shrink without heat shrink. Is the coolest thing in the world. All right, now we've got everything done here. We've got the soldering done. We've got the diodes in the correct place. Now this green wire that we cut from the circuit board, it just goes off into nothingness. We can pull that out. We don't need that anymore since that green wire is spliced into these 2 new ones with a diode. So that diode is going to decipher between the 2 when you hit the button. So this one's going to come out, and I'm going to get these 2 new ones, and I'm going to fish them through here, or at least try, and then we're going to go back to having some wires up here and figuring out where they go. There we go. I've got those fished up all the way through there. I pulled the green wire out, threw that over there. Now I just got to flip this around, plop it back where it was in before, put the top back on there, screw it back in place. That's it with the hard part. That's it. We're all done and finished. Got that back in. All my buttons work, I think, hopefully. I really don't know, but The biggest thing is the feel of the buttons. If you use too big of a gauge, they're gonna feel really bad because it's gonna be hard to put in. They're kind of smashed. So like I said, try to find a thin gauge if you can, something similar to these, maybe something a little bit smaller, but try to find something pretty thin so you don't have that issue. But now that I have all of this back together, I got these 2 new wires coming out of here. I'm gonna leave them long just to see if I can get around splicing them into something else. Now that I've got all that in, I can put my plastic bit back in here. Oh, and we're getting close. So now comes the fun part on connecting the wires. So I just did the first one. So from the new steering wheel, this yellow one is going to go to your black. Now when I say black, I'm talking about the one that used to go into your green plug, your original green plug. So I unpinned all of these. So the black still has that pin on there. So once I'm done testing all this to make sure it works, I can put this pin back into this harness and then plug the harness in so it's not all jank. So first one, we have yellow to black. Then we have brown from the steering wheel to red from the green harness. Now we're gonna go to our 2 new wires. These are the ones that we soldered to the board. These 2 new wires are going to go to the yellow black and the white red. So the one that you soldered here is gonna go to the white red, and the one that you soldered here is gonna go to the yellow black. So now that you're all done with that, the last one we have is this green connector. So this green connector we chopped off that goes into your horn and also the green harness. So we don't need this anymore. So we're gonna chop off this end, the one with the pin out, but we're still gonna keep the end for your horn so we have a horn. So this is what I ended up doing. I just chopped one end off so I could still have the pin on one side and then of course the tab on the other. So yeah, that's how I did that. So now that everything is roughly connected so I can test it, of course, go ahead and make sure you do your own testing. If not, and you live on the wild side, then you can go ahead and shrink wrap or do whatever you need to. So all you have left on here are 4 wires. You have the red and the black. That's going to be for the new illumination. And then you have the white and the blue, which is going to be for your audio controls. So audio controls, easy peasy lemon squeezy. We're done with those. And these. Black is just going to go to ground. Again, super easy. And red. Red, you're going to want to put towards your illumination. So the same one in your radio, when you flip on your lights, it turns brighter. That's the same wire you want to connect this one to, so when you turn your headlights on, these will turn on. Or if you want them on all the time, put them to a 12-volt accessory. Don't put it to a 12-volt constant, or else they'll always be on and drain your battery. Pretty simple. All right, so I just tested everything. Super sketchy. I had wires all over the place, so I don't suggest doing that, but everything works. So what I'm gonna do now is I am going to reuse this handy dandy little guy. Again, I really wish I had this one, but I don't. So I'll have to figure something out for that one to make sure they don't touch. Maybe just wrap them individually. But this I actually can reuse. So I just popped in the pin onto this one, and I'm gonna do the same thing all the way across, just like how I removed them. Just place them back in when you're done, lower this locking mechanism back in, and now you actually have a harness instead of whatever you were thinking before. Naughty, naughty. All right, so the next one is white, and I'm gonna do my best to show you guys with one hand, but we'll put the white in the pin here, and then you just push it in and it'll click into place. There we go. Now we have white as our next one. And remember, white's not actually white. We connected white to, what was it? Black. There you go. So I'm connecting it back to how it was up here. So yeah, as long as you've been following along, easy. All right, so in this plug here, the one all the way to the left, that one's 1. The one next to it is 2. And the one down here is 3. And when I say that 1, 2, 3, I mean up here for pin number 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that means number 1 is gray, number 2 is black, and number 3 is brown. Now it's hard to see that brown one, so if I twist it, is that brown one down there in number 3. All right, since number 2 is black, I'm gonna make that one ground. So the black, which is the ground for the steering wheel, in blue, which either blue or white needs to be your ground. I just chose blue because it just makes a loop. So either one doesn't matter. So these are going to go into spot number 2 on the pinout. So I'm gonna pop those in, and then these two, I have to figure out which ones I want to go where. Honestly, it doesn't really matter since I'm going to splice into it down below. So this is gonna be my number 2. Number 1 will probably be my white, and number 3 will be my red, so my power. All right, so this is what I have so far. I've got my green, obviously connected already, and then over here for these 3, you might be able to see right in there, I've got the middle one is an insulator so they don't touch, and then this red one I have coming out to the old red one. The black one I have coming out to the black and blue together, so that's going to be the ground. And the green one I have coming into white. So now I have to remember that what each one of these does, this one is going to go towards my radio. This one is going to go to ground. And this one is going to go towards my illumination that I already have on my radio. All right, so I pulled the plug forward just so you guys can see it a little bit better here. The gray, black, and brown, the 3 at the corner, the 3 at that corner, and the corner that goes onto there, at least on my car, it may be different from yours, that's why you always got to check this stuff. These 3 don't go to anything, so I could technically go back into that harness back there, into the back of it, because there's nothing in there. I could put my own wire pins, but I don't have any wire pins. So I'm just gonna do it this way. These wires go up into the column into what we just connected. So those 3, I'm gonna snip over here, add wire and extend it under the dash, and then over here to my my radio area. One's gonna go to the ground, one's gonna go to my illumination, and the other one is gonna go to my steering wheel controls. So that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna snip these guys right up here and extend them over there. Okay, I did notice that I started the green plug in the wrong way. Now that I have everything back on here, this is the right way. So here are the colors. I was doing it upside down, so I forgot that I did that. Anyway, this is how they should look with the clip on top. So I've got all the colors in the right place now. I've got my 3 wires coming out of there. I've got everything nice and wrapped up. Again, this stuff is awesome. This is a self-adhesive silicone, so I don't have to worry about it coming undone like all this that I'm gonna do in here, all the electrical tape that in the summertime starts to unpeel. Yeah, so I'm gonna go through, fix all that up, put everything back in place, and I'm done. All right, so I got my radio back in place. I hooked up one wire to the illumination, make sure I got that in. The other one, I hooked it up to the radio control. And then over here, I gotta make sure that my new horn wire, which is the only thing it does now, is hooked up to the back of the horn. And then of course, grab my airbag wire and put it back into my old airbag on the new Forester front here of the steering wheel cover. Pop that back in, put it on. Of course, make sure your steering wheel is in the right place, back nice and level, and also that your nut is tight. Yeah, the line thing really didn't help a whole lot since I took it off. So make sure your steering wheel is exactly where it was before. I think tape up here would be really helpful, but I parked it flat and it's flat now, so close enough. and make sure everything is put back together the way it was. So this bottom piece, when you took this out, make sure that screw goes back up in there. Make sure both your Torx bit on both sides of your steering wheel are in there. When you took this whole thing down, the 2 screws I was talking about, you've got one right there, and then you've got another one right there. Those 2 ones, everything else is just clips that bring this up in place. So now that that's done, I can clean up the rest of that stuff. All right, and here it is, completely finished. Everything is working on it. All of my audio controls are working on it. Up, down. I've got it set to mute. I've got this one set to mute. Mode, up and down. I got those set to select different tracks. Like I said, you don't need anything special for it. You just need to know how to hook it up. My cruise control does work. So you can see that. I hit cruise control, pops up. I've gone down the road, acceleration, coast. Cancel is the only one that is a little hard to push because one of my wires goes right next to cancel. So it's a little squishy. I'm sure once it kind of gets set in there, it already feels a lot better than it did before. But other than that, everything on here works perfectly. And it's kind of hard to tell because it's day, but because I have it set to illuminate, if I hit my lights, you'll be able to see it's red. So that's gonna be red, that's gonna be green, but honestly, I don't care. It's a very nice dim red so I can read these at night. Everything works beautifully. I hope you guys enjoyed because man, this took me so long to do. This took me weeks to do, multiple weekends to finally get everything up and running, even the horn.